What's going on, everybody? This is Russell, RW Wireless News. I apologize for my absence here the past few days. It's been fun up this way. Everyone, I hope you're staying safe. It's been real snowy up here in the Northeast. Ton of snow, ton of ice, just a whole mess of stuff going on. So, enough of the weather, because this, of course, isn't a YouTube channel for weather. But what I am here to talk about today is just a couple of things. So first and foremost, Root Metrics reports coming out here showing the results from their testing. And once again, as happens all the time, the 16th consecutive year in a row, Verizon wins Root Metrics testing for overall reliability in other categories as well. When it comes to 5G, though, T-Mobile is staying on top of the PAC-1 category. And here's the thing. I know 4G is still a pretty big factor, and Verizon had that put down pat for a while now. T-Mobile's 4G just isn't as good as Verizon's or AT&T's, and a lot of that reasoning is something we call investments. Now, Verizon and AT&T sunk a lot of money into 4G, where T-Mobile kind of backed away after 2017. After the 600 megahertz auction came out, and it deployed band 71 on LTE, because at that point in time, they didn't own any low band. So all other sites mainly were based off of the 1900 megahertz grid of frequencies, and that's how they were built. So after T-Mobile put that on the network, the 600, they quit LTE. That was it. And I am willing to bet you that internally, T-Mobile knows this. They know the fact their LTE is not up to par. It's not competitive. It's nothing to write home about. And I can confirm that. And a lot of my personal testing with T-Mobile's 4G, it just doesn't stand up. They have less spectrum on air than most other carriers. They're running antiquated setups and carrier aggregation for those 4G bands. It's just not working. So here's what needs to happen. If T-Mobile wants to stay in the lead here with 5G, they have to make sure that they are investing the proper CapEx, which they did increase, by the way, for this year, if you didn't see that. It's a little bit above 13, I think it's 13.5 billion. It roughly is the CapEx that T-Mobile is dedicated to their network this year. Verizon, of course, a little bit higher than that. AT&T, still pretty decent on their end too, and they're going to be picking up their deployment pace for C-band and the 3.7 gigahertz spectrum they got. Speaking of AT&T, what AT&T is doing now, in a previous video I posted about the one-touch tower approach, where AT&T is going to install equipment for 3.7 gigahertz in a recent auction that they won spectrum in. And they're going to have a radio deployed for C-band all at the same time. What T-Mobile is going to do, as a matter of fact, is wait for a dual-band radio setup. What I mean by that is there will not be two separate radios for both frequencies. They want to use one, and they're just waiting for that to come to fruition and become a thing. So they're going to deploy that once they have the opportunity. Away from that for a second, what T-Mobile needs to do, other than CapEx, is they need to work on the backhaul on their sites. It's a huge deal. They could throw, here's the thing. Here's my analogy for you guys. So if you have two pipes, right? One 2-inch pipe and one 4-inch pipe. We'll say the 4-inch pipe is the backhaul of the site, and the 2-inch pipe is the available spectrum they have. If you throw a 6-inch pipe on the spectrum side, but you keep that 4-inch pipe in the back end, it makes no difference. There is zero difference. Sure, you might have more capacity, but if you're not opening that pipe on both ends, what you're doing is kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're not making your network as efficient as it needs to be. This is T-Mobile's instance. A lot of their sites are only running 1 gig backhaul, even though they're telling you that they're running more than that. That is not the case. Most sites do not run that upgraded backhaul. It's something that T-Mobile has put off because it is expensive. Maybe not as expensive as their build out of N41 and midband, but here's the problem with that. If T-Mobile continues to ignore that simple thing they need to do, no matter how much spectrum they throw at it, it doesn't matter. If you keep that 4-inch pipe on the backhaul side the same way, and you make that to a 6-inch, an 8-inch, whatever, and by the way, this is just an analogy, you're still not fitting anything more than that 4-inch pipe. It's not going to happen. So we need to see an increase. A lot of times, from what I'm hearing, T-Mobile on some sites is doing 10 gig backhaul, which in my opinion is more than enough. Now, I don't know if that's per sector or for the whole tower. If it's 10 gigs per sector, that would be ideal. That way, all sides of your tower are broadcasting at the same backhaul rate. And that's extremely important. This goes back to consistency. And, you can have a network that's fast. It doesn't matter how fast it is. If it doesn't work and if it's not reliable, it doesn't matter whatsoever. You need to have a consistent experience across the board. And that's something that T-Mobile needs to work on. Now, I am going to give them credit because they have done a tremendous job in densifying and adding new coverage. That is something that back in 2010 to 13, 14, really wasn't a thing. We didn't know T-Mobile for coverage. Now they are what I would consider competitive. Minus the west coast of the United States and some of those other areas they still haven't filled in yet. This is a big deal. So if T-Mobile does what they need to do there, they will continue to remain competitive. Not only that, but they might come out on top. Now, Verizon's a hard one to beat because Verizon for years and years and years has had a very consistent, reliable network. That's just overall testing, and it's a fact. AT&T, still doing good. Still has good density, still has good coverage, a pretty reliable network. In my opinion, a pretty reliable network. They have their first net build with the government. So, obviously, how much trust is being put into a carrier like AT&T says miles about their leadership and their network abilities as a company. But T-Mobile, you got to keep on this. If you don't do this, you're going to slip out again. You're going to make a mistake, and you're going to get surpassed. Right now, Verizon C-band pace is bonkers. It's actually more than the T-Mobile's 900 weekly site upgrades, and that is crazy to think that they are doing that much in a week's time. Verizon is doing over 1,000, almost 1,100 site upgrades in a week. They're outpacing T-Mobile. Here's the problem with that. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Not quite. Right now, Verizon is spending more than T-Mobile. Their CapEx is higher. Now, granted, Verizon does have a couple more assets they have to divert that CapEx to, whereas T-Mobile's $13.5 billion they're devoting to their network is pretty much their network. They don't do anything else. They don't have wireline. They don't do fiber. It's pretty much all wireless. So, T-Mobile needs to work on that. Now, T-Mobile has options too. They have tools. Now, not to say Verizon and AT&T won't have these tools, but T-Mobile's doing the NR carrier aggregation, and that is something that's first to market here in the United States. No, none of the other two carriers have gotten that far yet. T-Mobile is the only carrier in the U.S. to have a widely deployed standalone 5G network. And what that essentially means is it doesn't need LTE as a backbone. It doesn't rely on LTE to operate 5G. When you're doing standalone, your ping times are better, the efficiency is better. When T-Mobile keeps deploying this carrier aggregation, that's going to help them with two areas. And the biggest one, the most meaningful one for areas that don't have N41 yet is the coverage, where you might have not gotten a signal with N41 before. Maybe you're in a dip, maybe you have a lot of foliage or trees or whatever. That carrier aggregation is going to help you with that because they're doing low band aggregating with the mid band. That's going to increase the efficiency and reach of the network. Big deal. But they got to keep on that, guys. And, honestly, if they do all of that, if they actually stay true to their word, T-Mobile could be a 5G leader. 4G, as far as that's concerned, that's a draw. It's over for T-Mobile. Their 4G, here's my professional opinion, will never be as good as Verizon or AT&T's 4G. It's not going to happen. T-Mobile doesn't talk about 4G. They don't advertise 4G anymore. It's over. It's 5G, 5G, 5G. And that's all it's going to be from them from the future. Verizon's going to tout their 4G network because it has shown in testing from Open Signal RootMetrics that it has always been on top. Same with AT&T's. I'm not saying they're a bad company or anything, but they have a good standing too, better than T-Mobile's 4G. And a lot of people still use 4G. Not everyone has a 5G phone, so 4G is very important, and it's not going anywhere. 3G Will, yes, it's going away. All three carriers plan to do it. So guys, give me your take on this. What do you feel that the carriers need to do to stay on top? May this be AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile? Drop that in the comment section below. And again, apologize for the hiatus for the past few days. It's just been a mess up here. Guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more content. Have a good day.